Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. You are watching the best daily sports betting show on the planet, and we've got Steve Merril, Andy Lang, and Carmine Bianco with us. Steve will be talking Orioles at Blue Jays, Padres at Angels. Andy Lang's got a bet for us on the UFC Friday night card and a prop bet for us on the NBA Finals. Carmine Bianco, hockey, Stanley Cup. It's in front of us. Florida and Edmonton. Let's go. Teddy Covers is my co-host. What's your big game breakdown?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the New York Mets and what bettors learned today. And then in big game breakdown, we're going to look at the Houston Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals. So loaded Monday edition, Prez. Let's get right into it.
You bet. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, take a second out of your day, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you've got any betting strategy questions, ask away. Steve Merril joining us. Steve, thanks for hosting for me on Friday. You'll be doing it again this Friday. How was your weekend?
It's good, man. How have you been doing? It feels weird not having in the NBA. It's like summer is here already. It feels like basketball is done. It's baseball only. We're kind of going through the July, early August mindset. And then we realize the NBA Finals, we still have anywhere from 4 to 7 games the next couple of weeks, and it'll kick back in a couple of days. And I'll be doing NBA preview videos. I'm going to have a series preview video today. It'll be up tomorrow on Tuesday, most likely. And then I'll have a game 1, game 2, game 3 every day as I've been doing here on WagerTalk TV.
Awesome. Yeah, and no NHL for a while either. So it's baseball pretty much moving forward with a scattering of NHL and NBA. Let's get to it. The red-hot Toronto Blue Jays coming off of a sweep, trying to get their act together. They're playing the Baltimore Orioles today, minus 105 for the Jays, a total of 8. How are you betting this game?
Yeah, first of all, Vladimir Guerrero has been playing third base the last few games, and he's normally a first baseman, of course. And what I didn't realize is when he was picked up in 2015, he came up as a third baseman originally, and he says it's his favorite position. Who knew? He looks like the ultimate first base. I coach a lot of baseball, did this weekend. You can put the heavy-set guys that don't move too well at third base also because they've got the strong arm and they don't have to play like a shortstop. So it makes sense, something I thought was kind of interesting. And the Blue Jays are doing this because they're trying to spark several things, including that offense. But as you said, Prez, they've gotten back in current form here. They've won 5 out of 6. Orioles, of course, have been one of the best teams in baseball. And it's really been Yankees-Orioles in the AL East so far this season. I talked about this last week on Friday's show and also on First Pitch that although the Yankees are ahead of the Orioles, I think the Orioles are still the team to beat. If you look at the records against winning teams this year, the Orioles have played more winning teams. They've done better than the Yankees so far. Orioles are also the best home run hitting team in baseball. They have 84 home runs this season. But as is often the case, they strike out a good amount of times also. So I always like to look at the pitching matchup when you're facing the Orioles to see if the guy can throw strikeouts. And they're going against Gausman, who actually is a former Baltimore Oriole. So he'll be facing a lot of his teammates here tonight. And he is a good strikeout pitcher. In fact, had only 3 strikeouts in his last start against the lowly White Sox. Not sure what to make of that. But he had 10 strikeouts the game before that. In fact, he had 30 strikeouts in the 4 prior games. So he is a strong pitcher, I think, in this situation. And I do think he can somewhat hold Baltimore in check. And I like the fact he's going against his former team. I think it's a focused, motivated spot. Rodriguez for the Orioles, also an excellent strikeout pitcher. 24 strikeouts his last 3 starts. So I would actually look at the under in this game. I think there'll be plenty of Ks. I would look at some pitcher K props over. It opened 8. It's now down to 7.5, under 15. Always like playing those under 7.5s when possible because 7 is such a key number. And I think there's still some value with the Blue Jays and Orioles under 7.5. And also, being the Monday game after weekend series, travel without rest situation, I think the Orioles offense coming from home now to the road could be a little bit sluggish here in this first one.
I want to ask you about Baltimore because to me, Baltimore is just a fascinating team. They were the single most profitable team in all of baseball in 2022. If you bet on them every game, the Orioles were number 1. Last year, same story, which doesn't happen very often, that the same team's most profitable 2 years in a row. Now it's the 3rd year with Baltimore, and the market's still not giving them a lot of respect, and they're still ranking among the most profitable teams in baseball. What are the markets missing with Baltimore? And are they still an undervalued commodity now at this stage of the campaign after 2+ years of overachieving betting market expectations?
Yeah, what's interesting about Baltimore, Teddy, it's such a great point to bring up, is you don't see teams do that back-to-back years much, but keep in mind, as you know, the viewers might not, that in 2021, Baltimore was as bad as anybody. They were minus 27 units. The 2020 season, of course, was a little bit of a strange, shortened season because of COVID. They were actually up 5.5 units. So we'll say the last full season behind that was 2019. The Orioles were at atrocious minus 19 units. So the two previous full seasons, they were down about 44 units, two of the worst in baseball in 19 and 21. So as with the financial markets, when things kind of bottom, we talk about not trying to catch those falling knives. You have to see a bottoming process. Our producer, Dan, who also hosts the baseball show, Dan the Man Alexander, his new favorite term that I coined Friday is the bottoming process. For some reason, he loves that. But it is what we've seen with the Orioles here. 19 and 21, they were the worst money burners in baseball. So when that happens, I think teams can become hot and ride longer as well because the market doesn't adjust as quickly. I will say I think going forward, I'd be neutral in the Orioles. It's situational for me. They're just not a pure play on. But I think that explains exactly what you're talking about, why they can be so good back-to-back seasons, because they were so bad, keep in mind, right before that.
Steve Merril joining us. We got a great site-wide promotion going, everybody. For only $199, you can lock in June NBA, NHL, and playoff action. That's 29 full days for as little as $7.11 a day. I guess we should call it our 7-Eleven promo. Steve, what do you got going for the clients tonight?
Yeah, I want to talk actually NBA Finals real quickly. I'll be doing the preview video for the entire series later today. Also, we'll have the game-by-game situational stuff. And as you know, I was number one this season in the NBA. I'm number one all-time in units won at WagerTalk in the NBA. And I have not had a 5%er all season. Number one in units won this season and all-time, and I hardly ever, in fact, none this season have 5% plays. Well, I've got one going in game one for Thursday night, and it's loaded right now. So it might not be a bad time to check it out. I know most people have the rest of the playoffs already. They got on board with me at the start. But you haven't, check out the one play 35 for the 5%er. But as we always say, consider a direct subscription. If you get this June special right now for $199, you're getting that $35 NBA best bet. You're getting every game of the finals, and you're getting a full month basically of my baseball as well, which is the daily bread and butter sports. So if you really want to finish with a bang, as that promo shows on the screen, now's the time to do it, because I do have my strongest NBA play going this week in the NBA Finals, my only 5%er this year, this season in the NBA. It's available right now, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Beautiful. Steve, let's keep going. Padres at Angels. How are we betting this game?
Yeah, Prez, I wanted to talk about this game for a couple reasons. I touched on it Friday with Dan on the baseball show. And once again, baseball show will be on at 2 Eastern today. It's Monday through Friday live. We take the questions from YouTube Shorts, anybody who's day drinking early on Instagram, and also on YouTube here on WagerTalk TV. And I mentioned this Friday, and I used the Padres on the show Friday. And it was a couple things there against Kansas City. First of all, Kansas City, 21-8 at home at the time, and they were a home dog. The public was all over them. And one thing I pointed out in that play on San Diego Friday on the baseball show, which, by the way, did cash, they won that game 11-8, is that the Padres are maybe a little bit better than we realize when you look at the straight-up win-loss record. They're now 32-30 on the season after taking 2 out of 3 in Kansas City. But what jumps out to me is how much better they've been on the road this year. They're now 19-11 on the road versus just 13-19 at home. The offensive numbers are tremendously better. 5.5 runs a game. They're now batting .294. It was in the 280s before the weekend. They're now up to .294 in their 30 road games this season, which is fantastic. And they're much, much weaker at home. They're like in the .230 range, I think, at home batting average. They're about a run less per game. Now, San Diego's it's a pitcher-friendly park, so we get that. But my point is, I'd like to look at road numbers because it encompasses all different types of ballparks, different settings, and I think it's a more true indicator of a team's offensive performance and potential. So I'm bullish on the Padres. I think they are a play-on team here over the next several months. And I have no problem fading the Angels, who, oh, by the way, have the worst home record in baseball at 7-21. Even a couple weeks ago, every team in Major League Baseball had at least 10 wins or more, I believe, at home. The Angels have just 7 on the season still. They're in terrible current form. They've lost 8 of their last 9, and their offense is ice cold. So we're getting a very strong offensive team here, San Diego, against one of the worst teams in baseball. Padres or pass for me. I like to lay the road favorites also. It's one of the reasons I like them Friday at KC is because I think in game one, I always look to play road favorites because they don't overlook weaker opponents. They look to get the trip started off right, and we get them at a discount on top of that. So I like the Padres in this game tonight on Monday.
So Tyler Anderson has been an unheralded success story, and his strikeout numbers aren't big. He's not a pitcher who's attracting a ton of attention based on his advanced metric stats, and yet the results have been dynamite. His last 3 outings, 20 innings of work, 3 runs allowed against the Yankees, the Astros, and the Rangers, 3 teams that in theory can hit. And oh, by the way, the Angels have been winning for him. 3 wins in his last 4 trips to the Hill. Does any of that concern you, especially with the Padres being bet up this morning? That was minus 130. Heck, you could have found a minus 118 last night. Now I'm seeing as high as minus 148 on the WagerTalk free live odds screen. So the money's already flowed for the Padres. Are you concerned at all about Anderson's success?
No, I mean, that's the one bright spot for the Angels. As I mentioned, this is a team that's 7-21 at home this year. They're not hitting well. Their bullpen's not good, so he's going to have to go deep in this game. So I don't disagree with your analysis there on Anderson. In fact, if you want to hedge this a little bit, you could look at the under 8.5 of the game, I guess, if you're worried about him pitching well. But once again, I think that Padre offense, 294 batting average on the road, is very underrated. I think the best way to hedge this, if you go with the Padres and you're worried about Anderson pitching well, is just play some of his props, probably like out props, just innings props in general, because I just think he's going to have to go deep into this game because once that bullpen gets on the field, this is an LA bullpen that has a 6.0 ERA at home this season, and the 1.5 whip is awful also. So, you're right. Anderson's been the lone bright spot for this pitching staff. And in his last 6 starts, he has gone into the middle of the 6th inning or longer, and he only had 5 innings last time out against the Yankees, but he had 15, 8, and 7 the 2 starts before that. So Anderson recorded outs or innings pitched, however you want to play it. I'd look for him to go into the 6th, maybe even the 7th inning in this game.
Steve Merril, outstanding stuff. Thanks for joining us, my friend. We'll see you on Friday, co-hosting with Teddy Covers. Steve Merril, everybody. Teddy, let's get straight to it. What did bettors learn this past weekend?
So I'm going to talk about the New York Mets here for a minute. And, I was a Mets fan. That was really the team that I loved growing up. The lovable loser in the late 70s and the early 80s. Seaver, Kuzman, Rusty Staub, Felix Millan, Dave Kingman. Those were the guys I grew up loving. And then when the Mets actually got good with Gooden and Strawberry and Gary Carter, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, won a World Series, for me it was transformational.
Starting route to 1120 Finch Avenue West.
Didn't last long. All right. By the time the Mets, signed Bobby Bonilla to that 30-year deal, and Vince Coleman was throwing firecrackers out the window at fans, the Mets weren't a team that I had the same love for anymore. Modern era with the New York Mets. And again, being a fan, that's for me something that when I was a kid, as a bettor, didn't matter. Loved the Mets, didn't like the Mets quite so much, but never regained that love after the Bonilla Coleman era. So in the modern era, the Mets, 75 and 87 last year. And now they're 24 and 35 after losing again yesterday. Another bullpen nightmare, another blown save. They're 5 and 15 in their last 20 ball games. But when we talk about payroll, the Mets have the highest payroll in baseball, higher than the Dodgers, higher than the Yankees, higher than the Braves, higher than the Phillies, all teams with winning records ahead of them in the standings. But the Mets, they're paying the most. So they're bad and they're expensive. The blown saves are a nightmare, as demoralizing as it gets. And again, yesterday's blown save in my mind was as huge as any all season. Instead of winning the series 3-1, now it's 2-2, and they're back to 11 games under 500. It was the 3rd straight game where the bullpen had caused them problems, and it's a bullpen that's been problematic all season. Look, I thought there might be a spark. We talked about the Mets in the big game breakdown on Friday, where they had the team meeting, and Francisco Lindor sparked them to victory, and then they won another one. But bad bullpens kill sparks, and bad bullpens kill chemistry. And when we look at the Mets, some of the quotes coming out of that locker room compared to what we're seeing in Kansas City or Cleveland or Washington, night and day. So I thought there might be a buy sign for the Mets after this weekend. I don't think so anymore. Lawrence, that's what I learned. Back to you, my friend.
Oh, sorry. Wow. Sheesh, dude, that put me to sleep. And I just woke up. Can you tell us more about your childhood fandom and, maybe the history of another team?
Sure. Happy to go. Where do you want me to go?
Oh,
Let me talk about the
bugger
Jets.
off,
The Jets are
Teddy.
even worse.
How was your weekend, bro? Did you win?
So I got my ass absolutely kicked on Saturday. Absolutely kicked. Didn't get anything right. I think I lost my plays by a combined margin of 100-0. And then yesterday, we got a blown save winner where we rallied back in the ninth inning to get back on track, a game I desperately needed. So it was not a good weekend. Nonetheless, we come out of it, at least with the arrow pointed upward after cashing with the Royals in the ninth inning yesterday. What about yourself, Lawrence?
Well, I missed Friday. I had a great Thursday night. I had an okay Friday, mediocre Saturday, and a shit Sunday. That sums up my win-loss situation for my clients. Finally lost a 4% play after winning the one on Thursday. Now 21-3, I think. I have to go through it. I will be doing that a little later. But no, it was a losing weekend, which sucks. It absolutely slays me when my clients lose, but hell, nobody is winning every single day of their lives. As for the map questing, Dan Alexander, that was an accident. My phone just map quested, a mattress store. Andy Lang joining us. What up, Andy Lang?
How's it going? Looking forward to starting a route to some profits today. See if we can navigate our way into some winners here. So looking forward to a nice Monday here.
Excellent stuff. How's that road to $1 million video plan going?
It's going fine. We had a good weekend. Thursday was terrible, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday was all pretty good. So clients are happy. Bankrolls are pretty happy after the weekend. So not much to complain about. So we'll be doing props and parlays today, starting again tomorrow, and we'll be on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Get you ready for props and different parlay pieces. Turn in some profits this week. It was funny you were saying, well, it's all baseball. And I got so many other sports. This is like the perfect time of year for me. We got a big golf tournament. We got UFC. Prez, CFL starts this week. Look at Formula One race this week up in Canadian Grand Prix. This is a fantastic week for me and clients. So this is right in my wheelhouse this time of year.
And Andrew McGinnis will be joining us Wednesday to do a CFL preview. Andy, let's get straight into it. Daniel Marcos versus John Castanada. It's a UFC fight. It goes this Friday night. How do you suggest we bet it?
So Daniel Marcos is actually 15-0, and he's one of these guys where he's gonna lose at some point. He's not that great. Like, he's not elite. He's probably not gonna win a championship. And I'm just waiting to try and find when he's going to lose, and this just isn't it. John Castaneda is not that great. The big difference is Daniel Marcos has a lot more power and does more damage, and John Castaneda is a little bit more of a points fighter. And as we're seeing in UFC, it is all about the damage now. The judges don't really care about takedowns and ground control anymore. They want to see big, heavy shots. They want to see a lot of damage, and that's what Daniel Marcos does. He is not a high-volume fighter, but he doesn't have to be because he's very efficient with his strikes. His kicks do a lot of damage. His strikes do even more. And when he fights these guys and it goes to decision, the other guy is just beat up. They're wearing damage all over their face. And John Castaneda, he's won, 4 out of 5 fights. This competition hasn't been that good, and he just doesn't do a lot of damage. Even in the last 2 fights ago, he was fighting this guy who hasn't won a UFC fight yet. Went to decision. He won, but the other guy had a point taken away because of a headbutt. John Castaneda is just not a step up in competition for Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos has been beating guys better than Castaneda, in my opinion. And you're getting an insane value on this one. It's close to even money, and I don't quite understand it. Daniel Marcos is the play here. if he wins and he gets a big step up in competition, I'm looking very forward to fading him. But in this one, to me, it's Daniel Marcos all day.
Yeah, I mean, I need to talk about this number with you because obviously we've seen the money flowing in the other direction. This opened as high as Marcos minus 148. I'm seeing in the global markets, and now minus 115, minus 110 for Castanada. So it's been a significant move towards the other guy. Tell me why, and if that worries you at all.
Yeah, it does worry me. Whenever the markets move in the opposite direction, you've got some other guys that have a different opinion of you, and I'm still trying to figure this out. Maybe it's because Castaneda's won 4 out of 5, but man, the eye test just doesn't make any sense to this one. So I'm gonna have to just ignore the line move and just trust my own read on this one. I mean, yeah, it's nice Castaneda's won 4 out of 5, but Daniel Marcos has won 15 in a row. His last fight, he was winning easily, and we had an accidental groin strike, and the other guy bailed out. So said, nope, can't continue. I'm getting my ass whipped. Can't continue after this one. So he really should be 16-0. So, the line may be going against me, but I'll trust my read and stick with Marcos.
I'll trust your read too. Andy Lang, one of the best bettors we have. Love you guys in the chat room. Ace, Eric, Natural thought I was a bit rude. That's okay, Natural. Manishtana is what we say in Hebrew. Why should today be any different? Eric D, Justin P. Love having you guys all here. And a guy named James Bond. I haven't seen your name yet. Which James Bond are you is the question. Teddy, did you have a famous James Bond?
Favorite? I'm not a James Bond. I'm not a James Bond fan. But Lawrence, you just put me to sleep, brother.
Yeah, of course I did, dude. I'm trying to make up for it. Yeah, we should both have a freaking nap. Andy, what about you? You got a favorite James Bond?
Not really. No.
Okay. Luka, the self-proclaimed best white guy in basketball. You've got a prop bet for us on him. Let's get into it.
Yeah, kind of interesting that Luka and Jokic are maybe the best one too. You got these kind of little overweight European guys. Kind of odd in the NBA, but it is what it is. Let's take a look at a series prop. Over 8.9 rebounds per game versus the Celtics. What I like about this is we kind of look at what's happened with Luka throughout the playoffs, and he definitely was injured. We know that, and he was hobbling around, but he's gotten healthier, and this break is really going to help him. He's going to be as close to 100% as he probably has been all playoffs. We look at that first series against the Clippers. He only averaged 8.9 rebounds per game, but the next two series went way over this total. Oklahoma City, he averaged 10.5 rebounds per game. Minnesota, a really good rebounding performance, averaged 9.6. So Porzingis is probably going to get minutes. I don't know if he gets a full workload though. And the Boston Celtics, they rank as a good rebounding team in the playoffs, but they haven't exactly played some amazing rebounding teams. Like my Pacers cannot rebound very well. So I think they're going to be one of their best rebounders again. He's going to stay in the paint and grab all those boards and try and get out into transition. So I think this number's a little bit too low. Not sure where it came from, but I think he has a nice rebounding series.
I mean, what do you think the right number here should be? Because I'm looking at this and going, yeah, for a full set. I mean, because Luka went over in the last series, went over 8.9, only because he had that one game where he had 15 boards. Every other game, I think he was at 10 or less, right? So it's not like
Correct.
He's been flying over the number. He had the one game where he bricked every shot and then got a bunch of his own rebounds. But that was it. But when I look at Boston and the Luke Cornett's and Al Horfords of the world, not just Porzingis, it feels to me like they might be more capable of keeping Luka off the boards than the teams he's faced so far. So talk to me about that concept, if it bugs you or if it's a non-factor.
I know you hate where I'm going to go with this, but in the regular season, he played Boston twice. He had 18 and 12 against them. And no, there's not a whole lot we can take away. I guess the other thing is, he's going to be playing so many minutes. If he's healthy, the opportunities are going to be there. I don't know why he would sit, hardly at all. He averaged over 40 minutes against the Timberwolves, and even one game he only played 37 in the closeout game where it was a complete blowout. And he sat towards the end, so I think he even stays. Maybe we might be looking at 45 minutes per game with him. And I agree, Horford, Cornette, Tatum's a good rebounder, but I don't know if he can do it against Minnesota and Gobert. I feel like he can do it against the Celtics team.
Andy Lang, everyone. Andy, what do you got to promote?
We've got our cross-sport parlay of the week. We hit our 4% one last week, and this one's a 5% play. It is a absolutely fantastic play. This is one of my favorite cross-sport parlays we've put up this year. We are 14-6 in these in the last 3 months, and it's just I really like building the week with one big play that you can lock in now, and it takes place kind of over the week. These have just been a great source of income, and we're kind of lowering the volume. I don't have any plays that are up today. We don't need to force anything because we love these cross-sport parlays so much. I think I may have 2 or 3 of them this week, along with some golf plays, and that may be it. I think I can bring in quite a few units doing this. So we cashed the one really easily, no sweat last week. This one is worthy of a 5% play. I encourage everyone to lock that in and enjoy those profits. Andy Lang at WagerTalk.com.
Beautiful. Andy Lang, everyone. If you like what you're hearing, again, take a second out of your day. Hit that like button. Teddy, lots of chatter in the room. Tyler wants to know if I have a red room in my house. It's a reference, I guess, to a room full of sex toys. No, I do not. But I'm game. Sure. I mean, if I didn't have 5 children in my house every second week, I'd have a red room. What about you, Teddy?
I'm pretty sure you'd have a red rum. Red rum. Red rum. Sorry, Shining reference.
Is that a joke? That was terrible.
Yes.
Dan, do we have any booing graphics that on
Fun hanging
fire
out with you
today?
Lawrence.
Well, give me a boo. Let's see. I want to see the boo graphic. Oh, caught you on that one. Don't even have one for me. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown.
Big game breakdown. Let's talk some MLB for Monday. Before I get into it, I do want to mention that finish June with a bang special at WagerTalk.com. If you buy today, you get 29 full days of action for about $7 a day. Right now, WagerTalk.com. No promo code needed. Get on board right now. Again, all access, all June, just $1.99 for the capper of your choice. Let's talk about the Astros and the Cardinals. Look at the WagerTalk live odds screen right now. I'm seeing Houston, let's call them minus 170, minus 180. Total in this game, 8, a little bit of juice to the under, minus 115, minus 120. And you better believe we're looking at the under in this ball game. Justin Verlander for the Astros today. He is in a groove right now. Last time out, 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 run allowed versus the Mariners. He's been dominant. Verlander dominant, the ageless man in 3 of his last 4 trips to the hill. And when we look at the Cardinals' track record against Verlander, well, they're combined 5 of 33 against him. That's a 152 batting average with a 503 OPS. Neither Arnott nor Goldsmith has had any success against Justin Verlander. We look at the other side of the equation, Kyle Gibson. Well, let's see. He had 6 innings of work, 2 hits, 1 run allowed last time out at hitter-friendly Cincinnati. Kyle Gibson, 2 earned runs or less, 7 of his last 8 starts. He's been a consistently undervalued commodity this season. The Astros aren't hitting. They've scored runs in only 1 inning 8 times in their last 11 games. Yesterday was not one of the 8. They scored runs in 2 different innings. They still lost 4-3. I mean, last 9 games, 3, 5, 1, 4, 1, 2, 2, 5, 1. Nary an offensive outburst, lots of low-scoring affairs. St. Louis, they're 6-0 with a push to the under in their last 7 ball games, trending under. They just scored, 8 runs in 3 games at Philly. Not an offense that's clicking either. Under full game, under first 5, under any way you want it. Do not expect runs in bunches as the Astros play the Cardinals tonight. There's your big game breakdown. Lawrence, back to you, my friend.
Teddy, breaking news. Dan Alexander whispered in my ear that he does have a red room. And he is prepared to tweet out pictures a little later. So everybody, you should make sure to follow Dan Alexander. Dan, what's your Twitter account? At Newbie Talks. There you go, everybody. Theodore, Carmine Bianco joining us, and we have a chance to talk NHL. Carm, we've got a Stanley Cup matchup lined up, and a fascinating one at that. Really, two teams that couldn't play any more different. You have the speedy, dynamic offense of the Edmonton Oilers against the grinding, close the center of the ice, vicious Florida Panthers. This is going to be basically a series on which team controls the pace of this hockey game. I'm curious what your thoughts are. I'll give mine. Series price, Florida minus 130, Oilers plus 110. I already bet the Oilers a while back to win it all. That's where I'm going, and I'm happy to explain it. Where are you going, my friend?
I don't think you need to explain it, Prez. I get it. There's a stigma that comes, or something that comes with the Edmonton Oilers, that people always think they're a running gun team. They're a team that in the playoffs falter because their goaltending falls apart. This is a different team under Chris Knobloch. This is a team that during the regular season, after he took over from January 1st to the end of the season, he went 31. They went 31-12-5, 43-16-6 record. If you factor in the playoffs, I really wish the coach of the year, because I had Knobloch to win coach of the year at I think 25 or 30 to 1. I really wish they made those decisions based on a team's full season and not just the regular season, because obviously he had a shorter season and they gave it to Vancouver's coach. But Prez, you look at this, and Edmonton's a completely different team now. You look at in the three series they've had so far, they limited LA in the opening round to 29 shots on goal. Then the Vancouver Canucks to 21 shots on goal per game. And the Dallas Stars in this series, 26 shots on goal per game. Skinner's playing extremely well. You look at Stuart Skinner in this series against Dallas, the series that just finished, and we talk about the goaltending being Edmonton's weak point. Well, 1.91 goals against average for Stuart Skinner with a .923 save percentage. If you go back to the last two games against Vancouver, when they came back from down 3-2, he is 6-2 with a 181 goals against average, .920 save percentage. And it's because they're doing a fantastic job of collapsing in front of the net, not giving teams rebounds, tying up guys, and getting it out. And then they let their offense counter. And when you got guys like Draisaitl, McDavid on that team, you're going to get some goals from this team. You look at specialty teams, Edmonton, number one in power play, 37.3 percentage. Unbelievable. Penalty killing, number one, 28 or 29 straight penalty kills, 93.9. Florida's not that bad themselves. 23.2 on the power play, which is ranks number 6 in the playoffs, and number 2 in penalty killing at 88.2%. I get it. The Stanley Cup hasn't come north of the border for 30 plus years, but this is as far as series price goes, I'm taking the plus money with the Oilers because I like them in game one. I think they win game one in Florida. I think they have a lot of momentum behind them as well too. And the one big thing, Prez, is in this series is when you look at Florida at this point, every team has film on each other. Yep. They know each other. We watch it. We know what is going on. Florida did a great job in their series against the Rangers with Forsling. He absolutely tied up Panarin, took one of their best players completely off the ice by tying him up in the neutral zone. The minute he got the puck on his stick, Forsling was on him. And I don't think you can do that to McDavid. McDavid has so much speed, much more than Panarin does, and generates it through his own end and through the neutral zone that for Forsling to try and stop him they're going to pick up penalties, and then we just revert back to 37.3 on the power play for the Edmonton Oilers. They buried Dallas yesterday with 2 early power play goals and didn't have to do anything after that. And they did it the game previous as well too. Their power play is coming after a short stint of 5 games without a power play goal, 4 in the last couple of games. I get it. This is a very good Florida team. I've liked them all season long, but this Edmonton is gaining momentum, and you can draw a line through the goaltending part of it, because that's always been the big negative against the Edmonton Oilers. You can't look at it now. Stuart Skinner's playing extremely well. You may not think he's better than Bobrovsky, but in the last series, people thought Ottinger was the better goalie. Edmonton still won that series 4-2. So I'm going with the better team here offensively in a series where goals might be at a premium in this one, Lawrence. But I really like the Oilers in Game 1 and to win the series, because if they win Game 1, if you like Florida to win the series, just wait till after Game 1, because if they were to lose Game 1, you're going to get plus money on them instead of having to lay $1.30.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big if, though. Listen, I like your handicap, and I think you're right. And I want to add to it by saying that, Florida just beat the New York Rangers, and before that, the Boston Bruins, and before that, the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't think Florida has seen the speed that is about to come at them. The New York Rangers is a heavy team, a grinding team. They play a similar style to Dallas and Florida. They're a team that clogs up the middle, likes to keep everything on the inside, likes to slow pace in the neutral zone. Boston Bruins are exactly the same way. They emulate the New York Rangers in that sense. They're a heavy team, not dynamic. None of the Rangers or Boston are puck possession teams. They're teams that counterattack. Florida's a counterattack team as well. And I think we have a situation here where you're right about Game 1. And I think it's going to take at least one game for Florida to really say, oh my God, how are we going to adjust to the speed? I don't think they've seen anything like it all year. I think you made a great point. Handicap was excellent. Carmine Bianco likes Edmonton in the series and Edmonton in Game 1. Anything else, my friend?
A lot of people are talking about, Lawrence, the amount of travel these teams have to do. It is, obviously from Florida to Edmonton, it's 2,400 miles, which is like 30 for us north of the border. It's 3,860 kilometers. The NHL, if you look at the playoff scheduling and the Stanley Cup scheduling, the first 2 games are in Florida. Then they have 2 days off, 2 travel days instead of 1. And then it's the same thing for games 5, 6, and 7. There's 2 travel days, and there's 2 days off in between the games. So they're stretching this out and taking the travel out of it. So I'm not really worried about tired legs from being on a plane for 4 or 5 hours traveling to and from Edmonton and Florida. So take that one out of the equation.
So real quick, Carm, when we look at the recent history of Canadian teams in the Stanley Cup Finals, the Vancouver Canucks lose in 94 in 2011, the Flames in Calgary lose in 2004, the Oilers lose in 2006, the Senators lose in 2007, the Canadians lose in 2021. So that would be an 0-6 run for Canadian teams. We've got 2 Canadians, you and Prez, both saying, oh yeah, this is the year for Canada. Why have
I'm not saying that.
Why have Canadian teams failed so repeatedly, and why is this year different?
Well, it's tough. Obviously, there's only 7 Canadian teams, and 25? Is it 7 Canadian teams, Prez? 7 Canadian teams, and
Carm,
24, 25 American teams. But also, the teams that you mentioned were never as gifted as this Edmonton Oilers team. We're seeing something from this team, and this is a team that, for Teddy, for the first 16 games or 18 games of the season, they were absolutely abysmal. Terrible team, couldn't do anything on the ice, and a coaching change turned this team around. He's got them playing defense. He's got them understanding how to play defense, and it's the same thing that Paul Maurice did with the Florida Panthers. Took him all of last season until the last month of the season to get Florida to buy into his style of hockey, and they went on that amazing run, make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Injuries took their toll on them, and they lose to the Vegas Golden Knights. I just think that from a talent perspective, there is more talent on this Edmonton Oilers team. And I look at it this way, and people are going to argue this point. The three best players on the ice belong to the Edmonton Oilers in Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Bouchard, their defensemen. They're the three best
And
players
Zach
on
Hyman?
the ice. No, not Hyman. I don't think
Wow.
Hyman's one of the I don't think he's one of the three best players. He's got the benefit of playing with Connor McDavid, and he's got 13 or 14 goals in the playoffs this season, but he is not one of the three best players on the ice for both teams combined. I think you make a case for Barkov, a fantastic talent.
I love Barkov.
Maybe Matthew Tkachuk, but I think the three best players on the ice, the two forwards and one defenseman, belong to the Edmonton Oilers. The rest of the team is buying in, Lawrence. McDavid, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins. That's a great number one line. That is 69 points they've combined for already in the playoffs between them. Draisaitl, Perry, McLeod. Perry making the Stanley Cup with 5 different teams, Teddy, in the last 6 years. Corey Perry's been in the Stanley Cup on a team in the last 6 years, 5 times. He's been in a cup final. And then Kane, Henrique, and Holloway. They're rolling out lines, and they're playing well defensively. If they weren't playing as well as they are defensively, and we saw it against Dallas, they completely took Dallas out of this series. Dallas had no answer for them. It couldn't get anything. So with that said, I'm sticking to it as a Canadian with the Edmonton Oilers getting this over on the Florida Panthers. Unfortunately, agree or disagree, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and just to really end this segment, this misnomer about Canadian teams. A Canadian team wins the Stanley Cup every single year, Teddy. Every year, without fail, since the beginning of time. They just happen to be in America at that time period. But it's always Canadians that win the Stanley Cup. Carm, what do you got to promote?
So, Lawrence, perfect segue. I said since January 1st, the Edmonton Oilers were 43-16-5. I am up 46 units on sides and totals in the NHL since January 1st. You can get the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs, I believe, for only $69. It's in the hockey drop-down menu on my page. Or take advantage of that June deal. The rest of June, the Stanley Cup will be decided in June. I think the final game is June 24th. I'll be in Vegas for that if it goes 7 games. And of course, the Euros kick off this month in 2 weeks' time. Not this Saturday, but next weekend. And I have a bunch of futures up, and I also have 3 plays already loaded. One of them a 5% play. So I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a great tournament, along with the Copa America that is in the U.S. for the first time. Jump on board. That package is $129. You get 3 different tournaments that are running over the course of the next 2.5 months.
Carmine Bianco, what a show. Great stuff. Lots tomorrow. Join us again, 12 p.m. Eastern. Teddy covers. Take us home.
Enjoy the games. Best of luck with your wagers. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Until then, cheers.